Thank you. Time. Hi, and welcome. My name is Rasmus, and today I'll serve you a coffee that I'm extremely proud of presenting, a coffee that celebrates innovation. On a daily basis, I work as an advisor and researcher in fruit cultivation, and one of my finest tasks is to develop new techniques to make fruit cultivation more sustainable, both in terms of profitability and quality, and then to implement those techniques on a farm level. And for a crop like coffee, we established a research station back in Copenhagen, Denmark, where we conduct experiments with coffee trees in a climate-controlled environment. This allows us to study how coffee trees react to climate change, while also maintaining a stable environment to investigate the impact of farming practices. And with the application of new and innovative agricultural practices, I believe that we've come a long way to produce something truly special. And specifically for today, I brought your coffee straight out of our research station back in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's a new and exciting variety, still under the process of being developed, but for now, we call it Flora. And Flora thrives at high altitudes, where the formation of floral aromas, such as terpenes, are accelerated. And to really capitalize on this characteristic, we replicated a high altitude environment. Lower, more stable temperatures, a lower oxygen pressure and a low humidity, and the result is a coffee bursting with floral aromas, such as white florals and honey. But, and there is a but, Flora was bred for high productivity. And typically, when you boost productivity in a coffee plant, it comes at the expense of quality. However, through our research, we developed a few techniques to significantly increase the quality of the coffee without compromising yields. So, during the seed ripening period, which happens long before the actual fruit ripening period on the trees, we remove 20% of the fruit. This diverts excess nutrients to the remaining fruit on the seeds, giving them a higher nutrient content. And this is really important as they act as precursors for aromas, giving this coffee its intensity and complexity. And apart from this, it also adds a really high perceived sweetness, adding layers and notes of stone fruit and brown spice, which really ties this coffee together and makes what I believe to be an outstanding piece of raw material. It should also be said that with this treatment, we enhance the actual densities of the remaining seeds, meaning we don't lose any yields, even though we remove fruit from the trees, which is quite nice. It's also worth noting that we picked this coffee 4 months ago and processed it promptly to ensure optimal freshness and quality. And talking about processing, I believe that in recent years, we've seen a lot of extensive processing methods make coffee lose its unique and inherent variety character. So I developed a new processing technique that least interferes with the natural qualities, but solely enhances what is already there. We do this by performing an initial cold maceration for 48 hours, sitting at just 8 degrees Celsius. And this gentle chilling process preserves and intensifies the coffee's aromas without inducing fermentation, safeguarding that natural profile. After the chilling process, the coffee is thoroughly washed and dried in a pressurized rotating tumble dryer to give me the most uniform drying possible. So in the end, no additives, no adding of yeast or bacteria, no fermentation, just coffee in its purest form. And I roasted this coffee to its lightest and cleanest to avoid any roasty aromas. I did this on a 1 kilogram roast machine with a total roast profile of 10 minutes and a development after first crack of 1 minute and 8 degrees Celsius to give me the most flavor expressive version of this coffee. I also roasted the coffee about 3 weeks ago to let it open up a bit before brewing it for you guys. And talking about brewing, I believe that when brewing, to give the best version of the coffee, we need to make a brew that's balanced and clean. And to best achieve this, I'm using a flat bottom brewing device to give me a thin, even layer of coffee grounds for an even extraction, yielding balance. The brewer also has a large exit hole in the bottom, giving me a really fast flow rate, providing cleanliness to the brew. I'm using paper filters with a much higher retention than usual, excluding masking attributes such as long-chain bitter compounds and oils, giving me a really refined structure in this cup. I'm using 13 grams of coffee to 200 grams of water, as this gives me the most fitted intensity for this coffee. I also ground the coffee quite coarse, sitting at around 900 microns to give better flavor separation. My brewing pattern is a 50 gram circle pour every 40 seconds. And I believe that when you brew in pulses like I do, that the amount of pulses determines the body of the coffee, while the time in between the pulses narrates the acidity, intensity, and structure. And I found that for this exact coffee, having 4 pours gives me the nicest body to go with the flavor components of the coffee. While the 40 seconds in between my pours gives me that nicest acidity, intensity, and structure, reminding me of that acidity that you get from a ripe stone fruit. My total brew time will be 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And I believe that behind every good brew is a very good brewing water. So my brewing water sits at 92 degrees Celsius and is constructed of 40 ppm of magnesium chloride to give intensity and sweetness, 20 ppm of magnesium sulfate to accentuate the florality of the coffee, 20 ppm of calcium chloride to give the body a nice and creamy texture, and 5 ppm of sodium chloride to make the acidity sparkle, for a total of 90 ppm. And now, it's soon time for us to enjoy this coffee, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about what to expect on beforehand. So if you want to get ready to write down. For the aroma, at all temperatures, you will find apricot up front, followed by cinnamon, and green grape. For the hot flavors, you will find peach, elderflower, and honey. For both the warm and cold flavors, you will find apricot, cane sugar, and honey. The aftertaste, which is one of my favorite things about this coffee, is long and lasting at all temperatures. But when it's hot and warm, it's reminiscent of stone fruits, and when it's cold, it's floral, like honey. Coffee, when hot, is silky. But as it cools at both warm and cold temperatures, it will be creamy. And now, this very floral and fruit-driven coffee, with its brightness and sweetness, concludes a coffee that's very well balanced all the way from hot to cold. And now, it's finally time for us to enjoy this coffee, but I'd like you to please follow just a few instructions. We'll start by assessing the hot aroma. And to do that, I'd like you to take the lid off with one hand and hold it. Stir 2 times with your cupping spoon while assessing the aroma. And put the lid back on, and I'll be back with further instructions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you've already gotten a sense that this coffee is something out of the ordinary, and extreme care has been taken into producing it. For the remaining, I want you to please assess all the attributes by drinking directly from the cup to highlight the sweetness of the coffee. And as a final note, I'd like to say that I believe we need to bridge the gap between research and practical application to make sustainable agricultural practice more accessible and effective. But the future seems promising, and I hope that our research can continue to contribute to promote sustainable agricultural practices in producing countries. And thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoy the coffee. Time.